listening to Pop This, the podcast where three women talk about pop culture. Here are your hosts, Lisa Christiansen, Andrea Gin, and Andrea Warner.
So I have this, I don't know if it's a bad habit or just a choice. It could be, or is that the same thing?
Wow, we asked the deep
Let's think about
existential
that.
questions on this podcast.
Yeah, so what I like to do is I like to get a croissant. Do we pronounce the T? A croissant? Croissant?
No,
No, we
mean,
don't pronounce the T. Okay.
Like, we're not supposed to, but like I often, just because I learned when I was a kid, it was always like a croissant.
Yeah,
you know.
croissant. And I only eat the ends and then I throw out the middle.
That is
that just blows my
absolutely
mind.
wild to me.
The middle's the best
It's
part.
so good.
The
Why do you
ends
only-
are
the ends-
perfectly crispy, and I love, my three favorite food groups: crunchy, salty, and fatty. So,
So the croissant really fills those things for you just at the ends.
yeah, and the middle part is a bit too squishy, I find, and uninteresting. But I love the ends of a croissant so much.
That's a crime. I can't believe you do that.
I gotta say, like, I will occasionally leave my ends.
Really?
Yeah, like,
Yeah, if I had to choose,
yeah,
I would leave the ends.
yeah.
I mean, I take a liberal end, just so you know. So, like,
Sure, it's like a
not
third of the
just-
croissant, so it's just like,
Yeah, it's not just the
Yeah.
nubby part, but that is my favorite bite, is just the end. But I also like to eat bread, like I like a round loaf because I like to have four ends, four crusts.
As much crusts as possible.
Wow.
Who's ever heard of that?
incredible.
That's how I
That's
eat.
not-
That's how I eat bread, and then by the time I've got the middle square, I just give that to somebody else.
Oh my god! Wow. Okay, now that shocks me. I do say though, I want all your middle bits.
Which is a
Yeah.
weird thing out of context, but
I will sign up for all your middle bits. Yeah,
But you need to partner with somebody who like cuts all the crusts off their sandwiches.
yeah.
I'm also
I'm-
that way with and I understand there's a great schism. We even may have spoken about it on this podcast. The great icing cake schism.
Oh yeah, I don't like icing.
I love
I like
icing.
cake.
I barely like cake. Like cake to me is the vessel for the icing.
I'm sensing here that you don't like doughy things.
Oh, really? Well, if they're really dry, I don't. I should. Okay, take a step back. Should I do the truck sound? Beep beep beep. All right. When I like my the sourdough loaves, usually I buy them the round. When I toast them, I slather them in a lot of butter, like a lot, like the kind of butter. There's an actual Danish word that means the tooth butter. And it means you can see the mark of your tooth going through how much butter you put on your sandwich.
Oh wow, wow.
That's quite
That
a bit
is
of
quite
butter.
a bit of butter. Yeah.
And the fact that, that's what my grandma always used to serve my French bread with butter on the top so that the layer of butter looked like a slice of cheese.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
So that's
Yep.
where this expression tooth butter came from. But anyway, that's how I like it. So I don't know if does that take away the doughiness when I put all that much butter on it, or what does that do? I don't know.
Well, I think what we've discovered is that you don't treat bread as bread; it's a vessel for butter.
And cake is a vessel
And
for...
cake is a vessel for icing. So, like,
That's right.
But I mean, I will make a bold statement that, like, if you found the perfect cake and the perfect piece of bread, there is a possibility that you would never know because you had slathered them in various different butters and icings.
Yeah, if I can, I mean, yeah, pretty much. I've
Like,
been
I
known
just-
to eat a whole loaf of bread, but I will have to, like, toast the middle parts quite extensively so they get a real crunch.
What?
Wow. You know, I had a friend.
Goodness.
I have a friend still, but we met when we were children. She was like my first friend in the whole world, and we met when we were like 3. Anyway, since she was 3, she has always loved to toast her like bread. Like her toast is always like just super burnt. She
I
has
like that
like
too.
burnt toast since she was
What?
a
Yeah.
very small child.
Oh, that just seems so dry.
Not when you
And-
slather all the butter on it.
Yeah, it's like it looks like a fly cemetery, honestly. Like, because I've seen, like, you throw all the butter on it, but then it's got all this burnt ash, like kind of.
Yeah. Oh.
Wow.
So did she like to
Are you
slather it
kidding?
in butter as well?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. 'Cause
Yeah.
that's a great combination. You get a lot of taste there. That burnt bread taste.
I gotta say, I'm not a big fan of burnt bread. Like, it's just not.
Have you tried it?
So,
very much?
Yeah,
Are
yeah,
you-
I have.
Will you just eat like a bowl of croutons?
I hate
Yes.
croutons.
Yes, I will. I make when I make a Caesar salad, I make croutons out of a baguette.
Fancy.
It is. I'm pretty fancy.
I like that.
I only eat things that I can mangle the French. Crouton, baguette, croissant.
I mean,
Pain.
I ate 2 croissants today, croissant, and that felt bold, but it's because the place that delivered them only sells them in 2, so I was like, well, I have no choice. I did feel.
So wait,
Yeah,
hold on. If you had your druthers, you would have ordered 1 croissant delivered to your house.
Well, I mean, in with the other stuff that we were getting delivered to our house. Yeah.
Okay. Oh,
just
okay.
that
I thought you were just
No,
getting,
no. I mean, God,
like the
I wish
one baked item.
Look, I'm spoiled, but not that spoiled. On a level of like, can you be the kind of person who gets 1 croissant delivered to your house? No, that feels too wasteful to me. But you know,
As opposed to me, who only eats the ends of them.
yes. Yeah, we it's the most Marie Antoinette thing about you. But like I had these delicious little croissants, but I found today that this is gonna, God, what a ridiculous complaint to make on a day that it's like 34 degrees out. My croissants were too buttery. Like they
What? What does that
I
mean?
don't-
they
Yeah.
were just like, I thought that they had used a tiny bit too much butter, and I think it's because of the heat.
Is it because they
Well,
weren't
you
flaky
could
enough?
you
You wanted them to be
tasted?
more pastry flaky, kind of?
Like I could, like my hands felt too greasy after, like while I was eating them. You know what I mean? Like I was like, oh, my hands should not be like fully just like I can see. I felt like I could almost see a tooth butter, as it were, now that I know the term for it, Lisa. Yeah.
But it was that. Did you taste that it had too
yes,
much butter in it?
yes, yeah. Like I don't add butter to croissants when I'm eating them because like obviously there's already too much butter.
Isn't it? Yeah, it's like 98%
butter. But like today it felt like it was 99% butter. So even putting my jam on it, just didn't. I just still felt like I was eating a stick of butter.
I bet it was the heat.
I think it was the heat too. I mean, the poor person that had to make this in
know.
the store. Like, my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
sweaty occupation. But, it's for such a pursuit of beauty that it's hard to, like...
Yeah, I feel like bakers it's like such a nice profession because you're just putting these beautiful things out into the world that make people happy.
I mean, honestly, the bakery is the place that I am the happiest at.
Yeah.
I love a good bakery.
Oh, yeah. Oh, gosh, yeah.
Oh, God. You know what, though? I gotta say, this show made me as happy. When I recommended it to you two, I was like, this is my bakery show. It's not like watching, an actual baking show, but this show makes me so happy that I would have traded in croissants for it.
Wow. Okay. That is a
I know.
segue and a half, my friend. That really is.
But also, no pressure if you two didn't like it. It's okay. We'll be okay.
Are we supposed to say something now, or you want us to wait?
No, I just wanted to put it out there. All right. I'm Andrea Warner.
I'm Lisa Christiansen.
I'm Andrea Gin.
And you're listening to Pop This. And that broken question. You know what? I'm a melty woman today. I gotta say. So my brain is a little bit fritzy. Will I cry during this episode? I don't know. I might be just too dry because I've been sweating so much. I don't know. But I love this show so much. Anyway, we're talking about Ms. Marvel, the limited television series that's part of the Marvel universe, which I care less about. I just really love this show.
I like it too, very, very much. I agree with you. I'm very glad you asked us to watch it, and I enjoyed. We were watching well, I know you've watched the whole thing, but I have watched the first 2 episodes and loved both of them.
Yeah, I've watched the entire thing.
Oh my God!
And yeah, I really enjoyed it as well. Although I feel, because like I don't watch superhero movies generally. Like I've seen Shang-Chi. I watch like selected ones and then proceed to have like no clue about any of these details.
How they fit into anything
about,
else or like whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm totally lost.
Yep.
But like I just sort of ignore the fact that I'm not getting parts of the story. But yeah, I enjoyed it.
My
I
God,
really
you guys,
enjoyed
I am so happy that you guys liked it. I wasn't sure because I
Really? Why? When we both have said we like superhero movies. I mean, I do.
No,
I'm
you
a
like
bigger
them.
fan.
AG does
I
not.
don't.
You've
actively.
watched them though.
Yeah, she's watched a few, but like
Yeah,
she has.
yeah.
I've watched a few.
Yeah, she has mostly actively stayed away from a lot of them. But I just wasn't sure because like as I was reading, like I mean I knew I loved it watching it, and I thought that there was like enough there that you guys would really like it. But you know, occasionally I read the room wrong. I don't know, but I remember watching the first episode and being kind of like floored by the time we got to the end because like it had just been this like visual joy from start to finish. Like I have never
It is very stunning.
I have
to
never
watch,
seen a show
yeah.
that like incorporates like text messages that well. That you know is so animated and reactive to like what's happening on the screen. After spending every Friday night for like the last 2 years having Film Fest with my nephew nibbling Alex, and like going through all of the things that they love so much, like making their own videos and making their own like fan art for these like Minecraft fandoms that they are obsessed with. Like seeing that in Kamala Khan is like it was just really lovely to sort of see how well they capture the sort of like that vibrant creative spirit of young people in fandoms.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And it was a very new world to me that I didn't know anything about. And so it was really enlightening. I would say from like just a note on that though, it's like a evidence like I'm getting really old, but I'm feeling like these kinds of things are like a touch like about, you know, teenagers turning to superheroes. I'm feeling a bit like not the audience for this thing, and like I'm not that super interested in the like I wish if this was a show that was just about like Kamala Khan just like traveling around, having a good time. She's just a regular person.
Being with her family.
I would
like,
still watch that show.
yeah.
I don't need this other stuff. It's just confusing.
I don't need this other stuff. It's just confusing. Is you're right. Like the ultimate, like maybe this isn't for me.
I have to say that as a rule, and I think I have said this on the podcast, I'm not a big fan of the coming of age. It's never my favorite genre because it always feels so forced. And yes, as I have to agree, the whole the further I get away from remembering what it was like being told by my parents that I can't go out, it's really hard for me to empathize with that. Oh,
Yeah.
God, they don't understand anything. That kind of feeling that I don't really have anymore. I get caught up though, and I did in this, I get caught up in the, always in the call to adventure, which is that famous trope in all of these stories where the hero, the heroine has the choice. Do I go into this? Do I steer clear? I love that, but I have to say, I really like the actor playing Kamala as well. I found
Mm-hmm.
her to be so engaging, so perfectly cast that really got me a lot.
Yeah, her name's Iman Vellani, and she's so great. She's so charming. She's so
And she's
compelling.
Canadian.
Yeah, she's wonderful. I love her so
And it's
much.
her first thing.
Yeah, I thought they did a brilliant job, like casting, and she's so natural, like in every moment. And I mean, I do still really enjoy coming of age stuff, and I just thought that, like, especially the moment where she comes home and the Ronettes play and everything turns sort of pink and shimmery, and she's just like love struck by Cameron. I thought that was just like so cute and so smart, and what a fun sort of 2022 take on something we're just so familiar with, like your first crush when you're a young person, like real crush, like, and the possibility is actually there. It's not just like a faraway crush because like they have been in each other's presence and they spoke with each other. It's very different than just like a faraway crush. And I just really thought that she nailed every second of it.
Yeah, she's
We're jumping all over. Let's start with
Yeah.
some background. Would anybody care to read the background?
Sure. Ms. Marvel is an American television miniseries created by Bisha K. Ali for the streaming service Disney Plus, based on the Marvel comics, featuring the character Kamala Khan / Ms. Marvel. It is the 7th television series in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, produced by Marvel Studios. See, all these words, they don't I don't understand
It's
anything.
okay.
Sharing continuity with the films of the franchise. It follows Kamala Khan, a 16-year-old fangirl of the Avengers, who struggles to fit in until she gains her own powers. Ali served as head writer, with Adil and Bilal leading the directing team. Ms. Marvel premiered on June 8th, ran for 6 episodes until July 13th. It is part of Phase 4 of the MCU. The series received positive reviews, particularly for its creative visual style and Vellani's performance. Ms. Marvel sets up the events of the film The Marvels, coming out in 2023, in which Vellani reprises her role as Khan. Sorry that was so stumbly.
No, that's great, and it's fine.
It was like
this-
her trying to learn how to use her powers.
Exactly.
You were
It was
exactly
perfect.
like that.
It was perfect. Lisa, do you want to read the synopsis?
Sure. Kamala Khan is a 16-year-old Pakistani-American high school student from Jersey City. She's an aspiring artist, avid gamer, and writes superhero fan fiction about her heroes, particularly Carol Danvers or Captain Marvel. But everything changes when she receives a mysterious bangle from her grandmother, and suddenly Kamala seems to have superpowers herself. For the purposes of this episode, we're only going to talk about the first 2 episodes of the series.
Yay! I had to remind myself what the first 2 episodes were about because I remembered the first one like extremely distinctly. I knew that it was mostly like world building and sort of setup and stuff. But I remember the end of episode 2 kind of really being very exciting and flooring me when we find out that Kamran's mother is this mysterious woman who appeared to Kamala in a vision. And the woman who's cast as her, Cameron's mother, Nija, she does so much powerful acting with her eyeballs. What an incredible, incredible actor. Like she has like this real ability to be like very fierce, and I just like her so much. And anyway, I was very excited at the end of episode 2. And I remember that being the moment that I was like 1,000% hooked. How was the experience of watching the first 2 episodes for you two?
I have to say that it was just like, this is okay for the first 3 episodes even. And I hope I'm not like ruining it too much to talk about, because like the 4th episode is when they go to Karachi. Yeah. And then I was like, oh, this is super interesting. I love seeing all these like scenes from Karachi and like, going to visit her relatives and stuff. And it's become a bit of a travel show now. And that's when I was like, started getting more deeply invested in what was going on.
I gotta say, I was surprised that you said you had watched all 6 episodes. I was pleasantly surprised, but
I kind of just benignly watched like the first few. And then by episode 4, I was like, yes, yes, yes.
Lisa, was there like a point in either of the first 2 episodes that like hooked you?
I have to say, I knew something was coming, but when at the Comic-Con, when the bangles started to work and it started to do all those strange things, then I thought, oh, okay, now we're going to have some fun. Because up to that point, I was watching, regular kind of whatever, my so-called life or something at that point, and I was a little bit,
Yeah, it reminded me of that too.
yeah, and which is great for kids going through, teen angst and high school drama and the pretty girl not liking you and having too many Instagram followers or whatever was happening there. Again, when she got the power, though, I just felt like that is such a universal feeling that anyone would be excited about. And then it became multi-generational in her family, and there were secrets, and then I was hooked.
Okay, so I have a question. I watched all of the episodes, and I still couldn't tell you how her power works or like what it is. Like, I know it's related to the bangle.
But Bruno tells her, doesn't he? He said it's coming from inside her.
But what is it?
Well, honestly, like we as TV viewers only, we don't really know that yet. Like we know that she can shoot out these like hard bolts of like basically like hard light. Like she can shoot out like hard energy and then use that to move or like block people or deflect things or hurt things. Like apparently it's different in the actual like comic book. Apparently it's a little bit different in the comic book, but I don't read the comic book, so I'm not going to get into like how it's different because I don't fully like understand it, and I couldn't possibly explain it in a way that is nuanced or interesting. But like she doesn't really know fully how her powers work. Bruno doesn't fully know how her powers work, and I think that's going to be part of what is getting explored in the film The Marvels, because it looks like there's like multiple Marvels in some capacity, which is
multiple Marvels?
Like Ms. Marvel, Captain Marvel. Like there's going to be a multiplicity of like people who have superpowers that
are named Marvel.
Is it like the way they brought all the Spider-Mans in?
Apparently, maybe a little bit. It's going to be like a little bit like that with a multiplicity of Spider-Mans. I don't know if it's going to be part of necessarily a multiverse or anything, because they do exist in the same universe. So I don't know. Because like obviously Kamala is a huge fan of Carol Danvers and like dresses as her and like, sort of. I gotta say, even though I have watched like, I don't know. I haven't watched all of the Marvel stuff because like I tap out on certain things and I don't care about other things. So I'm a little bit selective sometimes. I liked how little I had to know about the Marvel Universe in order to appreciate this show. Like I felt like I was more so fully getting an understanding of Kamala Khan's universe, and like all the levels of her family and all the understanding like the different communities that she is part of. I loved her like best friendships with both Nakia and Bruno, and just seeing her interact with those two. And like, again, I think it's just like Iman Vellani is just so fun. Like you want to be her friend. Like you're rooting for her the whole time.
Yeah. And I think kind of seeing the picture of her family and meeting all the people and learning and seeing what their life looks like has been one of the enlightening parts of this series for me. And even just hearing them talk about partition all the time and how it
that was really interesting.
That was fascinating.
Their family, because it prompted me to sort of like do more read a little bit about it so I can fully understand the facts of it, the history of it, so I could put it in context of like what her family is talking about through the series. So it has been educational for me personally.
Oh, totally.
To watch
I
this.
knew so little about it, and I truly, it's just nothing that I've heard of it, and I knew a little bit, but I just knew so little, and it's a little bit like a call to action for all of us to like go and learn more and stuff, which I really appreciate, because I like shows that are not going to slow down to spend a ton of time trying to explain everything to you, but are going to go about, like, they're going to introduce this to you, tell the story that they need to tell within the context of the show, and then trust that you will go and like learn more and get more context for real life.
It's also a good element to a coming of age story in that there's that tension of our teenager, with parents who, to quote Will Smith, just don't understand. And then you find out when they have those partition discussions, how truly, truly the horrible stories in their families past, just despair and fear. And here they are, they came all the way to the United States to set up this new life. And here's this kid, saying, you guys aren't interesting enough, or you're too, you're pushing me down too much. And they're desperately trying, to recognize a completely different life. And I think that's such an interesting tension.
And particularly, like, I think also the way that the mother-daughter intergenerational tensions play out, I was really, really fascinated by, and it continues to sort of be explored through the rest of the series. So it's really nice, like, to it's not like Kamala's mom is set up as like a bad guy at all. Like, she is just sort of doing the best she can with the information that she has, and the difficulty that she has faced in relationship to her own mother and her own grandmother, and what that has played out in. Like, I also really, really loved spending so much time in their mosque and with the different like factions of folks within their mosque, and just getting to know so many different people, and sort of like the bit of the gossip mill, but also seeing just like how like beautifully their faith and culture can it just, they're just trying to have nice lives, and it so quickly sort of within episode 2 becomes like a commentary on Islamophobia, and like the way that the agency just feels so free to bust in and target so many mosques, so many like brown people, like just has no qualms about immediately making it like a major racialized witch hunt, and it doesn't take over, like, but it at least sort of it's always acknowledging that the sort of like othering that is happening.
Yeah, and just like getting to see the culture inside of the mosque as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, shoe thieves, like, women sitting in a different section complaining about how they have less amenities than the men's section. It's all like, things I never really see or get to think about.
Well, and I also really love, that I love sort of like rebellious teens who decide they're going to like change the system from within.
Or running for the board.
Oh my God, when Nakia decides to run for the board, I just like love that so much. Like, these are just fun, good kid characters that there doesn't need to be all of this sort of like fake tension. Like, even with just like saying that Kamala is like a huge outsider or anything. No, she's just like, she's a kid who has a friend group, and she's not the most popular kid. But like, in this,
but she's not the least popular,
and it's fine. And like the tension is going to come from like the constraints that she feels as like a 16-year-old girl, because she doesn't feel like she has that much power. And like, I feel weirdly strongly still like sometimes that, particularly in this day and age, almost, that like as a 43-year-old woman, I don't have as much power as and autonomy. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, there's relatability on all levels, and it's not alienating. It's, if anything, it's like just kind of comforting to have aspects of this reflected back at you. Like, I'm like, any of us could also be dissatisfied with, like, say, for example, like our, if we live in condos and like our strata, team, or like our unions or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, so running for like the board of something to try and change something within, I just love that. It's a very basic, relatable story that, I like to see depictions of young women feeling empowered to make changes.
Mm-hmm. And I think they've written the character of Bruno as well to be more interesting than he has any right to be.
Yeah, he does a great, like, it's just like a very cool character. Like, there's no toxic masculinity there. It's great.
Yeah.
There's also, honestly, there's very little toxic masculinity in this whole show. Like, I really appreciate that everyone is,
even, like her brother, who's kind of introduced as a bit of
devout,
protective older brother kind of thing, is kind of revealed to just be like a goof.
Yeah.
In the show.
Yeah. No, I like all the people so much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I can't and I think it makes a lot of sense. Like, I was reading a little bit about one of the writers is so Bisha K. Ali from Sex Education, and like that makes a lot of sense to me. I haven't seen much of it at all, but I've heard so many great things about it, and it's like absolutely funny and teen oriented, and it gives like real agency to teenagers, and you can feel that in every step of this show. I don't know. I really like it. I'm going to read a very quick quote. This is from Destiny Jackson, writing via Empire magazine. Under the stewardship of creator Bisha K. Ali, a British Pakistani comedian and writer who previously wrote on Sex Education, the show does a great job balancing the comedic and dramatic. There are witty visual gags and well-rounded, warmly funny, instantly likable characters. The series also has an authentic take on Pakistani-American culture. One memorable montage explains the different cliques within their close-knit community, and the show takes admirable care in explaining the rituals and realities of life as a modern Muslim. And I think that's really true. That really shines through.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know. I thought they did a really good job of that. And again, we've had this discussion here too before, but just that tension of trying to fit into different worlds, and where, where is your place, and finding ultimately that you have to just carve out your own.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems like so much work. Not in the show, but in real life.
Yeah, well.
I mean, it's work in the show too, but like, I understand how that can feel so daunting, like just to individuals. But like, I think, carving out your own place doesn't have to be about like you as an individual. It can be like, you do that with your community, you do that with your friends, like you do that. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to be such a solo endeavor. And I think that's one of the things I really like. And maybe it's one of the things I really like about some of these shows in general, is that like, especially the ones that are set in sort of teen landscapes, and this actually kind of does include Spider-Man and stuff like that. Like, in a lot of the superhero shows, something happens to someone as an adult or whatever, and they have to face it like alone. Like, that's somehow like a badge of just bravery or like stoicism or whatever. But often when it comes to teenagers who end up acquiring superpowers, teens are smart. They know it takes a village. They know it takes a community. Maybe they're just bad at keeping secrets. I don't know. But I know that I know that I would also need like a small team around me, because I always do, like this podcast is a small team. So like, I feel really, one of the things I love to see is when friendship, it's like sort of friendship mode activate, because you need you need a group to get you through it, right? And so I feel like, you know, something like Ms. Marvel, something like Superman. I know that there are others too, but I just really appreciate when teens get to show us the power of like community and love, and it's just really nice because so often a lot of shows want to say that like teens are against each other, or teens are like toxic to each other, or teen means are like the whole thing.
Bruno's about to get his heart massively broken, so.
But like I will, like, I don't want to spoil it for you at all, Lisa, but like,
yeah,
but they handle it really beautifully, you know, like they do it with some nuance, and I think you're gonna get your heart broken at some point. Everyone usually, I mean, maybe you might not, but like most people do, and like they handle it really, really well, and it's so fascinating, and it doesn't go all the places that you think it might normally go, and I like that, you know, like it's really fun.
Yeah, and I mean that's the thing about this whole series is just that it's subtly unexpected and surprises you around every corner. And yeah, I don't think you can't make assumptions like based on watching the first few episodes, because like you really will be surprised by what happens.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm gonna keep watching. So
awesome. It's no surprise really, but like this TV show is like 98% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is huge. And it's not like it's 4 reviews, it's like almost 300 reviews. So it is so, you know, sort of like critically loved. And then, and this makes me so mad, after the first episode, the series was quote unquote review bombed on IMDb with a huge amount of 1-star ratings, with people posting all of these like crappy reviews, being mad about like the family friendly aspect of the series, the change in Kamala's powers, or calling it quote unquote woke, which is obviously like always my least favorite, I don't know, I guess curse word that people apply to like God forbid we have
when it strays from a narrative, then it becomes woke.
Apparently, or if it dares to like, I don't know, just be inclusive and like, you know,
but not even that. It just when it's not the same traditional story that you've seen 100 times, which is odd because the backstory of Thor doesn't seem to bother anybody. And he's from a different place. Sure
doesn't, but you gotta say, that guy's white and muscled.
Like, yeah, exactly, yeah.
No, I know. It's just like,
But yeah. Also, like, they could watch all the various Spider-Man movies that are out there to fulfill that itch.
Yeah, like, I'm just like, what is, I mean, I know what the damage is, but I know that we don't have to, like, give these people, like, that much space or power, but at the same time, when you have things that are sort of like algorithm weighted and user generated reviews, it can have like a negative effect on the show, because I also see like all of this sort of speculation throughout Twitter and different spaces that Ms. Marvel hasn't been as successful as other Marvel shows based on the usual factors for how they measure it. However, it has been hugely successful in welcoming new audiences to the Marvel Universe, because it is super popular among all kinds of folks who don't regularly watch Marvel stuff. And they're just not like giving that the credit or credence it deserves, you know? And so I just get really frustrated when like sort of media tells maybe like half a story and doesn't like think about the racism and misogyny and sexism that goes into what our standard measures of success are. Like,
yeah. Well, I'm a little confused about like, because I was reading in your notes too that the comic book version of the story was like the biggest selling, most successful comic.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't quite.
So what
understand.
happened within that translation there?
Well, but what I'm saying is that I don't think anything happened. I think it's just like the media likes to tell a certain narrative, which is that Marvel fans are upset, but they basing it on like these aren't exclusively Marvel fans, because Marvel fans are lots of different things. And so, like, I mean, it's not super common knowledge that, like, so this BBC article that talked about Ms. Marvel as, like, the comic book, it says, quote, it absolutely, this is Dr. Mel Gibson, an associate professor at Northumbria University and a comics scholar. Great job, Dr. Gibson.
Amazing.
I love that job. It says it absolutely left in sales to what could be considered non-traditional comic book readers, such as females, Muslims, or Pakistani Americans, for example. The idea of who reads comics and how they read them was changing, and it helped draw in new folk and diversify the fan base. By mid-2018, without a live-action TV show or a movie, Ms. Marvel had sold more than 500,000 trade paperbacks. That's huge. That's huge. And I think that this show has a substantial audience. It's just not being measured and captured in the way that, like, really reflects on how it's resonating and where it's resonating and what makes it successful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 100%.
It really bothers me.
But like you said, you prefaced it with, I shouldn't really be surprised. So
I'm never surprised. As you always
Just
say,
disappointed.
just disappointed.
yeah.
Just disappointed.
Mm-hmm.
God, I know. Also, one of our favorite Nobel Peace Prize laureates and activists, Malala herself. She's a fan, and I just wanted to share, like, her lovely words about it. Quote, it is not every day that I turn on the TV and find a character who eats the same foods, listens to the same music, or uses the same Urdu phrases as me. What a joy to see Ms. Marvel reflect the lives of a Pakistani immigrant family and reveal a young superhero whose powers connect to her heritage. Thank you, Marvel and Disney Plus, and most importantly, Ms. Marvel. Yay! I'm really, really happy that connects. And
You should have led with the Malala review. Actually,
I like to save it for last.
Yes.
But also, like, I mean, I'm also, like, thinking about, do I have a lot of other favorite Nobel Peace Prize laureates? I'm inviting myself to think about
Barack
that.
Obama might be up there.
That's true. You're right. I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
No, I'm sure there's a lot of them. I just don't like keep track of it. I'd like to do like one more little shout out to like the look of the show and how it speaks to like Kamala's creativity, and it folds in really like her boundless kind of like artistic genius. This is from Angie Han from The Hollywood Reporter. Quote, the character's boundless... I actually already plagiarized her when I was saying it. Anyway, the character's boundless creativity is reflected in the show's style. Texts between Kamala and her friends are incorporated into their environs so that a sad face emoji might show up in a neon store sign instead of the usual floating text bubble. Ideas thrown around in a brainstorming session are illustrated in moving graffiti on the city walls behind the characters. When Kamala returns home after spending time with her crush, the lighting shifts into dreamy shades of gold and pink and purple as she dances through her house lip syncing to the Ronettes' Be My Baby. I love all of that so much. Like, I know that like Tuca and Birdie was like a little bit too intense of all the visual stuff. I remember when like we reviewed it, Lisa.
Oh yeah.
Or talked about it, and you found it a little too frenetic. And this to me feels like it's sort of similar to that. But because it's live action, even it's CGI, it's a little less intense. And I just still love it so much.
I like the contrast between the two worlds. I thought it worked really, really well. Yeah.
But I really like how Kamala has, like, she has a YouTube channel or does TikTokers on social media, and like that's played up in the show all along, like what content she's creating based on her fandom, and just the idea that she's this like huge fangirl and then becomes a superhero, I think is a very clever and interesting trajectory for an origin story.
Yeah,
It
don't we
totally
all
is.
wish? Don't we all wish?
Absolutely. It's like the dream come true. And I'm so excited for her as a character. And I don't know what the movie will be like. But I'm really excited to have Iman Vellani in our like cinematic world. Like I think she's gonna do huge things in real life.
Yeah, she's got so much charisma.
Yeah, agreed.
It's
Yeah.
yeah. It's hard to resist this.
Does it pop?
Even if I don't know
Does it pop?
what the heck is going on with
Yeah. But does it pop?
But does it pop? Yeah, it pops. Yeah, it's a popper.
It's real big pops for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's pop art. We also love to leave our episodes on something we recommend. AG, do you want to go first?
Sure. So I've been listening to the Polaris Shortlist albums, just like making my way through, trying to like enjoy them more deeply, more deeply listening to them. And I'd recommend, like taking a look at the list and listening to all the albums, but I've been really enjoying the Ombigase album.
It's so good.
So it's called Sewn Back Together. It's OMBIIGIZI. I will put a link to it in the show notes. But it's just like, it's such a dreamy, hazy kind of like, might remind you of like Pavement or Tortoise kind of rock album. And just the vocals are so lovely. I especially really enjoy the single Cherry Coke.
Yes.
Yeah, and I just highly recommend people check that album out and check this band out because they're great.
They're so good, and I ended up writing the feature on them for like the piece that's going to come out next week via CBC Music, and we had such a nice time, and they're wonderful people, and it was really nice to like spend a lot of time with that record over the last few weeks, especially. Just not to jump on your recommendation, but seconded. Lisa, what about you?
I have been meaning to get to this book for a long time, so my apologies for taking so long, but I am now reading Five Little Indians by Michelle Good. And it is a really, it's hard to read, but also really important to read story about five young Indigenous people who went to residential schools and what happens to their life after. And a lot of it is set in Vancouver's downtown east side, which is where, we are so close to. And it is the winner of Writers' Trust of Canada and also Canada Reads. I think it was this year for Canada Reads for the one book everyone should read, and highly recommending it. Michelle Good, Five Little Indians.
Awesome. Thank you. I have not read it yet, but I've heard nothing but amazing things, and it's on my little sort of virtual bedside table. I could really jump on that Ombigase recommendation, but I'm not going to. I will recommend. I've gone back to Westworld. I'm watching season 4. I barely hung on through season 2 or 3, I think, actually. I may have even popped in and out of it. But I'm back doing it week to week for season 4. And it is compelling again. And I find myself sort of drawn to it. And we watch it almost as soon as it drops. And I don't know 100% that I like it, but I am recommending it as...
Wow. Okay.
I know. Well, because I might not know until the end of the season. I got to see where it's going, right? It's holding my interest week to week, and they're doing some pretty big things. And I will also say it has far less, none so far, I would knock on wood to say, far less sexual violence than any of the first few seasons, which is one of the reasons I often bow out of shows, is that I do not need lots of sexual violence in my viewing, because there's too much of it already in the world, and I don't really enjoy seeing it sort of as the one sort of character device they can sort of usually come up with for mostly women characters and gendered violence. Anyway, Westworld was very guilty of that early on. It's gotten better. And
Does season 4 still feature Mr. James Marsden?
well, I don't want to spoil a lot of stuff, but after I think he was mostly gone in season 3, he is back in season 4.
Okay. Then I'm in. Yeah.
And again, this is like the one role where I think James Marsden shines.
Oh, okay.
Just a robotic creation
what a turn this episode
What a
would take. We're
turn.
back. James Marsden conversation part 20.
20. We have our usual Matthew McConaughey conversations, James Marsden conversations, a lot of strong feelings about a lot of bland white men. Anyway.
Some of them are a little more outstanding than others.
Fair enough.
How often do we discuss Paul Rudd? We've all agreed that Paul Rudd is good, haven't we?
I mean, I like him.
Yeah.
He's got at least some
okay.
He's got some quirk to him that I really enjoy.
You know what I thought you said? I thought you said he's got some Liam Neeson.
Oh God, no! Keep that. That's keep.
I was thinking, how in the world would you confuse Paul Rudd and Liam Neeson? I mean, now I want to see them in a movie together, but I don't think that's going to happen.
No, I can't imagine that it would. Well, no, maybe I can see.
The Taken 74. He might.
Oh God!
You might see him show up.
Can you imagine? I would absolutely. Well, I would sooner imagine that Liam Neeson ends up cast in like Ant-Man or something.
Yeah, as a villain. You're right. That makes
I think
sense.
that's maybe more possible. Anyway, thank you so much, everyone, for listening. This has been your update of
slightly updated positions for each of you on James Marsden. So thanks for that.
Oh, and I will say, actually, good tie-in. The Marsden who plays Zoe in Ms. Marvel is not related to James Marsden. I looked that up because I was like, is this his kid? Because I was like, Marsden's not like a really super common Hollywood name. Doesn't seem to be his kid or any relation. So there is a Ms. Marvel tie-in. Look, there you go. Yeah. Thank you everyone for listening. Please hang out with us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram if you'd like. And you could always rate and review us 5 stars.
5 stars. That's our favorite review. And thank you, as always, to our, as I like to say, 5-star general, Andrea Gin, who is our producer and our co-host here. We appreciate her work more than we can say. So thank you all for listening.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.